They came at sunset on September 14th, 1993. I was 67 years old, sitting on my porch with evening coffee, watching the light fade over the Montana mountains. Then I saw movement at the tree line, not one figure, many. 7, 8, maybe 9 massive shapes emerging from the forest in a line, walking deliberately toward my property. My first thought was fear. This was a hunting party, territorial display, threat. Then the lead figure stepped into the clearing line, and I recognized him. The walk, the tilt of the head, the way he moved despite his size. It was him. The orphaned baby I'd raised for 9 months in 1973, now fully adult, now massive and powerful. And he'd brought his tribe, his family, his people. After 20 years of silence, he'd returned. Not alone, not in secret, but with his entire community, to show them who I was, to acknowledge what I'd done, to introduce me to his world the way I'd once introduced him to mine. As they approached, 9 Sasquatch walking across my clearing in the dying light, I realized this wasn't a visit. This was a ceremony, an acknowledgement, a bridge between species that took 20 years to build. My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 81 years old now. This story starts in June 1973 when I was 47, a widower living alone in a remote cabin in the Bitterroot Mountains of Montana. I'd lost my wife to cancer 2 years earlier, had no children, no family. Just me and my grief and enough wilderness to get lost in. Then came the day that changed everything, June 12, 1973. Early morning, I was checking my property line when I heard sounds that didn't belong. Not animal distress, something else. Rhythmic, desperate. The sound of something trying to wake something that wouldn't wake. I followed it, found a small clearing, and saw something that made my breath catch. A massive figure, had to be 8 feet tall, lying motionless on the ground. Female, I thought, based on the slightly smaller build. And next to her, crying over her, trying to shake her awake, was a baby, maybe a year old, 2 feet tall, covered in light brown fur. I approached cautiously, got close enough to see the mother clearly. She was dead. Had been for maybe a day based on the condition. No visible wounds, no signs of violence, just dead. Natural causes maybe, heart failure, disease, something internal that had taken her quickly. The baby saw me, stopped trying to wake its mother, stared at me with eyes that showed intelligence and absolute terror. This tiny creature had just lost its mother, had spent a day trying to wake her, and now a human, a predator in its eyes, was approaching. I stopped 10 feet away, knelt down, made myself smaller. "Hey," I said softly, "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm so sorry about your mama." The baby made sounds, high-pitched, desperate, asking questions I couldn't answer. Where did she go? Why won't she wake up? What do I do now? Universal grief in sounds that transcended language. I looked around, waited, expected other adults to appear, a mate, a family group, someone to claim this baby, but hours passed. Nobody came. This baby was alone, orphaned, and wouldn't survive more than a few days without help. I made a decision that changed my life. I approached slowly. The baby backed away. I stopped, extended my hand. "I won't hurt you, I promise. But you can't stay here. Your mama is gone. You need help." The baby looked at me, at its mother, back at me, processing, understanding at some level that staying meant death, that this strange creature was offering, what? Help? A chance? After a long moment, it made a decision, took a tentative step toward me, then another, reached out one tiny hand, touched my fingers, testing, deciding, then remarkably allowed me to pick it up. I carried the baby back to my cabin. It clung to me, made sad sounds the entire way, grieving, lost, alone. I felt its small body trembling. Whether from cold or fear or grief, I couldn't tell, maybe all three. At my cabin, I had no idea what to do. I'd never had children. Knew nothing about babies, human or otherwise, but I tried. Warmed milk. The baby drank it, made a bed from blankets. The baby curled up in it, tried to comfort it. The baby allowed it, and slowly, over hours, it stopped crying, stopped trembling, fell into exhausted sleep. That was the beginning. Over the following days, I learned. The baby ate almost anything I ate, loved berries, loved fish. Would try vegetables but preferred meat and fruit, drank milk readily, was curious about everything, remarkably intelligent, learned patterns after seeing them once, understood the cause and effect, could problem solve. I named him, I determined he was male. Charlie, short for Sasquatch. Not creative, but it felt right, and he responded to it. Would turn when I called, come when I gestured. Learn the sounds I associated with things. Weeks became months. Charlie grew fast. By 3 months in my care, he'd gained 20 pounds, was 3 feet tall, could run faster than me, could climb anything, had strength that was terrifying in moments when he forgot to be gentle. But he was gentle with me, remarkably gentle, seemed to understand I was fragile, that I'd break if he wasn't careful. The learning curve was steep for both of us. I'd never raised a child, human or otherwise, had no parenting instincts, just trial and error and a lot of anxiety. But Charlie was forgiving of my mistakes, patient when I got things wrong, and remarkably adaptable. Feeding was an adventure. He'd eat almost anything I ate, but had preferences that took time to learn, loved berries, would eat until his face and hands were stained purple, loved fish, raw or cooked, didn't matter. Would try vegetables because I ate them, but clearly considered them inferior. Preferred meat and fruit above all else. I learned to keep the cabin stocked with salmon, venison, berries. He'd eat 5 times what I ate. Growing body needed fuel. Sleep patterns were different from human babies. He'd sleep deeply for 4 hours, wake for 2 hours, playing, exploring, eating, sleep again, around the clock. No day-night rhythm initially. I had to teach him that humans sleep at night. He adapted, started matching my schedule, would cuddle next to me on the couch in the evenings, fall asleep there, let me carry him to his bed, like a toddler, like family. Communication developed rapidly. He couldn't speak. His vocal anatomy was different. But he learned to understand my words. By month 2, he knew dozens of commands. Come, stop, careful, gentle, hide. He'd respond immediately, not like training a dog, like talking to someone who understood language even if they couldn't speak it back. He developed his own sounds for things. A specific vocalization meant, I'm hungry. Another meant, I'm scared. Another meant, come see this. I learned his language the way he learned mine. We built a pigeon. Communication that worked even if it wasn't perfect. The teaching moments were profound. I showed him how to use tools, gave him a spoon. He watched me use one, then tried. Awkward at first, fingers too big, motor control developing, but within a week he could feed himself. I showed him how to open jars, twist, pull. He understood immediately. Could open anything after one demonstration. I taught him to fish in the creek behind my cabin, showed him how I used a pole. He watched once, then waded into the water, stood perfectly still, waited with patience I'd never seen in something so young. When a trout swam past, his hand shot out, grabbed it, held it up triumphantly. He didn't need a pole, had instincts far superior to my taught skills. I taught him to identify plants, showed him my garden. This is lettuce, this is carrot, this is tomato. He learned them, but he also showed me plants from the forest, brought them to me, made sounds, teaching me. This one is good, this one is medicine, this one is dangerous. He had knowledge I didn't, inherited, instinctive, ancient. The emotional bond grew deeper daily. When I was sad, and I was often sad, still grieving my wife, Charlie would approach, sit next to me, put his head on my shoulder, make soft sounds, comforting sounds. He understood sadness, understood grief, had experienced it himself when his mother died. We were two beings united by loss, finding comfort in each other. When I was sick, caught a bad cold in December 1973, Charlie stayed by my side constantly, brought me water, brought me food, wouldn't leave even to explore, just sat next to my bed, watchful, worried, caring for me the way I'd cared for him, role reversal, child protecting parent. By month 6, Charlie was 4 feet tall, probably 150 pounds, too big for my cabin. He'd accidentally knock things over, break furniture by sitting on it. Not malicious, just outgrowing the space. I built him a shelter attached to my cabin, insulated, weatherproof, big enough for his growing body, his own space, his room. He loved it, would spend hours arranging things inside, bringing materials from the forest, soft moss for bedding, interesting rocks for decoration, branches shaped in specific ways for reasons I couldn't determine but clearly mattered to him. Creating his environment, making it his. He'd show me his treasures, find colorful leaves, bright red and gold from fall aspens, present them to me like gifts, find unusual rocks, quartz crystals, stones with fossils, set them in my hands, look at me expectantly. Aren't these amazing? Aren't you proud of me for finding them? I'd praise him. That's beautiful, Charlie. Good job. His face would light up. He understood praise, craved approval, wanted to make me proud, like any child, like any son. The play was remarkable. He'd chase me around the property, gentle tag, careful not to hurt me. I'd chase him, never catching him. He was far too fast. But he'd slow down, let me almost catch him, then dart away. Playing, learning, joy in simple games. He'd climb trees, scale 50-foot Douglas firs in seconds, sit in the branches, call down to me, watch me from above, testing his abilities, exploring his strength, building confidence. I'd watch from below, heart in my throat, terrified he'd fall. But he never did. Perfect balance, perfect instinct, born for this. By month 9, March 1974, Charlie was 5 feet tall, maybe 200 pounds, stronger than any human adult, fast enough to outrun anything in the forest, capable of surviving entirely on his own, and I knew with certainty that broke my heart that keeping him would be selfish. He needed his own kind, needed a future I couldn't give him. I started taking him on longer trips into deep wilderness, days-long hikes, teaching him to navigate, to find water, to build shelter, to survive entirely without me. He was excellent at it, natural, instinctive. This was what he was meant for. One morning in late March, on one of our deep wilderness trips, we heard vocalizations in the distance. Deep, rumbling, structured. Charlie stopped, listened, made sounds back, excited sounds. He looked at me, then toward the vocalizations, then back at me. The meaning was clear. My people, they're here. Can I go? My heart shattered, but I nodded. Go ahead, find them. You need to be with them. Charlie hesitated, made sad sounds, approached me, wrapped his arms around me in what could only be called a hug, held me for a long moment, then pulled away, looked at me one more time, and ran toward the vocalizations, disappeared into the forest. I stood there until I couldn't hear him anymore, then walked back to my cabin alone, and cried for the first time since my wife had died. Not from grief this time, from loss, from love, from the profound pain of letting go of someone you love because it's what they need. I never saw Charlie again, not directly, but over the following years I'd find signs, gifts left at my property line, fish, berries, once a deer haunch. Someone was watching, someone remembered, someone was saying, I'm okay, thank you. I remember you. Life continued. I aged. Retired from my work as a logger, which I'd kept up during Charlie's time with me, settled into old age. The memory of Charlie became something I cherished, but also mourned. The son I'd had for 9 months, the connection I'd lost. Then came September 14th, 1993, 20 years after I'd found Charlie, 2 decades. I was 67, sitting on my porch at sunset, watching the mountains, thinking about my life, about my wife, about Charlie, about being old and alone. Then I saw movement at the tree line. Multiple figures, large figures, moving together, coming toward my property. My first reaction was fear. This was unusual, dangerous, but as they came closer, as they emerged into the clearing light, I saw them clearly. 7, 8, 9 massive Sasquatch, moving in a line, walking deliberately, not hunting, not threatening, purposeful, ceremonial. The lead figure stepped forward, large, powerful, 7 feet tall, maybe more, covered in dark brown fur. And I recognized him, not from appearance, he'd changed too much, but from movement, from posture, from the way he walked with a slight favor of his left leg, from an old injury jumping from a tree at age 2, from the way he tilted his head when observing something new. Charlie. It was Charlie. After 20 years, he'd come back, and he'd brought his tribe. He stopped 30 feet away, made a sound, low, rumbling greeting. Recognition. "Hello, Father. I've returned?" I stood up, my legs shaking, my eyes filling with tears. "Charlie, is that really you?" He made another sound. Affirmative. "Yes, it's me." Then he gestured to the others, and they came forward, slowly, cautiously, letting me see them. A female, similar size to Charlie. His mate, I realized. 2 younger ones, maybe 10 years old, his children. Several older ones, probably siblings or cousins from the family group he'd joined 20 years ago. And 2 very old ones, graying fur, weathered faces. Elders, the leaders of this group. Charlie gestured between me and his tribe, making introductions. "This is the human who raised me, who saved me when my mother died, who taught me, who let me go when I needed to find my people. This is my father, not by blood, but by choice, by love, by sacrifice." The tribe watched me, assessing, some wary, some curious. The elders approached, studied me carefully. One of them, female, had to be 70 years old at least, reached out slowly, touched my face gently, looked into my eyes, and made a sound, low, approving, grateful. "You did well. You raised him well. He belongs to both worlds now. Thank you." Then something remarkable happened. They sat down, all of them, in my clearing, making themselves comfortable, settling in. This wasn't a brief visit. This was time. This was acknowledgement. This was family meeting, family. Over the next 2 hours, as the sun set and stars came out, they stayed. Charlie's children approached me cautiously, curious about the human their father knew. I let them touch me, examine me, satisfy their curiosity. They were gentle, respectful, clearly taught by their father that this human was safe, was family. Charlie's mate stayed close to him but watched me with intelligent eyes, assessing, understanding that I'd shaped who her mate was. That part of him would always carry human influence, and seeming okay with that. Maybe even grateful for it. The elders told stories. I couldn't understand the vocalizations, but I could see the gestures, the pointing, the dramatic movements. They were telling the tribe about me, about what I'd done, making it part of their oral history. This human who'd saved one of theirs, who'd raised him with love, who'd let him go. This was worth remembering, worth teaching to the next generation. As full darkness fell, they prepared to leave. Charlie approached one last time, looked at me with those eyes that still held recognition after 20 years, and did something that destroyed me. He placed one massive hand on my shoulder, gentle, respectful, the way a son touches a father, and made a sound, soft, emotional. "Thank you. I love you." I never forgot. Then he reached into a pouch he wore, made from hide hanging across his chest, and pulled something out, set it in my hands. A carved piece of wood. 2 figures, one large. Me, adult human, one small. Him, baby Sasquatch, standing together, holding hands. He'd kept this for 20 years, carried it with him, a memorial to his childhood, to his time with me, and now he was giving it to me, sharing the memory, saying, "This matters. This shaped me." Don't forget, the tribe stood, prepared to leave, but before they went, each one approached me. The elders touched my head, a blessing. The children touched my hands, curiosity and respect. The adults nodded, acknowledgement. Charlie's mate approached last, looked at me carefully, then made a sound and gesture that was universal. "Thank you for making him who he is. Thank you for teaching him gentleness. I see it in how he treats our children. That came from you." Then they walked back into the forest, all 9 of them, disappearing into the darkness, leaving me standing in my clearing, holding a carved piece of wood and crying harder than I'd cried in 20 years. I'm 81 now. That was 28 years ago. I never saw Charlie again after that night, but I know he's out there. Probably 70 years old now. They live long lives, I think. Maybe a grandfather, maybe great-grandfather, teaching his descendants about the human who raised him, keeping the story alive, making sure they know that sometimes, across impossible boundaries, connection is real. And I have proof they remember. Over the years since that night, I've found signs, not just gifts, though those continued for a while. Fish left at my property line, berries arranged in patterns, once a bundle of medicinal plants I'd never seen before, but more than that. Evidence of protection, watching. 3 times over the past 28 years, I've had encounters with aggressive wildlife that ended strangely. A mountain lion stalking me in 2001. I saw it, knew I was in danger. Then heard a massive vocalization from the forest, deep, territorial, warning. The lion fled immediately. Something bigger had claimed this territory, had claimed me as under protection. A grizzly getting too close to my cabin in 2009. I was barricading my door, preparing for the worst. Then sounds outside, vocalizations, movement. The bear made distressed sounds and ran. When I looked out, I saw tracks, massive bipedal tracks. Someone had driven the bear away, protected me, protected the old human who'd once protected one of them. Hunters trespassing on my property in 2015. I heard them, heard their guns, heard them talking about the elk they were tracking. Then heard something else, deep vocalizations surrounding them, multiple voices coming from different directions. The hunters panicked, ran back to their trucks, left the area entirely. And I found tracks everywhere. The tribe had circled them, herded them away, protected their territory, protected me. They've been watching. For 28 years, they've been watching, making sure the old man who raised one of theirs stays safe, repaying the debt across decades, across generations. The young ones who came that night in 1993, they're adults now, probably have their own children, and they still watch, still protect. Still remember, I've told no one this story until now. Who would believe it? And even if they did, what then? Scientists would come, researchers, media. The tribe would be hunted, studied, destroyed. I raised Charlie with love. I won't betray his family with exposure, but I'm 81, not much time left. And this story deserves to be told, deserves to be preserved, not for fame, not for proof, but because it's true, because it matters, because it shows that connection transcends everything we think separates us. That carved piece sits on my mantle, 2 figures, one large, one small, holding hands. I look at it every morning, every evening, a reminder that love transcends species, that family is about choice and sacrifice, not blood, that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go. And that connection, real connection, never dies. It echoes across decades, gets passed down through generations, becomes part of story and memory and identity. The bone carving from the elder sits next to it. Intricate designs I've studied for 28 years. I think they're genealogical, family trees, lineages, and I believe, though I can't prove it, that somewhere in those carvings is a mark for me. The human who became part of their story, woven into their history, part of their tribe in a way that transcends biology. That carved piece sits on my mantle. I look at it every day. A reminder that love transcends species, that family is about choice and sacrifice, not blood, that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go, and that connection, real connection, never dies. It echoes across decades, gets passed down through generations, becomes part of story and memory and identity. I raised a baby Sasquatch for 9 months in 1973. 20 years later, he returned with his tribe to introduce me to his family, to show them where he came from, to say thank you in the only way that mattered, by making me part of his story, part of his world, forever. That's not myth. That's not legend. That's my life. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.